I know that Mavuika and Lohen look tempting, but before you spend your prime gems, there's one detail about Sandrone that could completely change your decision. What if I told you that ENEBA is now giving 5% off on HoYoverse games? Yes, so if you want to get Nicole or is already start saving for Lohen, use the links down below to get the amazing prices of ENEBA. Because the problem isn't just choosing who deals more damage now. The real problem is figuring out which DPS will actually last for several patches without aging badly in meta. And that's exactly what we are going to analyze today. Starting with Lohen, and I'm going to be very honest right away. Lohen was extremely unlucky because of the timing of Sandrone's release. His hype was through the roof. The character has a very beautiful gameplay style, an incredible presence, and that slightly psychotic look that he makes during his ultimate simply amazing. But then there's a problem here. Sandrone also arrived as a cryo DPS, and on the top of that, with a concept that promises to last much longer in the meta. But calm down, because I will go deeper into Sandrone in a little bit. Before that, I want to make one thing very clear here. Lohen is not weak at all. Quite the opposite. He can go toe-to-toe even with my beloved Skirk. And the only reason I'm not pulling for him is precisely because of her. Because I invested way too heavily into Skirk, alright? And in this Genshin chart from the Genshin scientist, you can clearly see that Lohen and Skirk's premium composition deliver practically the same level of damage, even though a large part of the damage comes from Durin, but the total damage of both teams is very similar. And he also can fit both into melt teams and freeze teams. But being very honest here, I honestly believe that he will shine much more in melt teams with Durin than in freeze teams with Scoffier. And it's not only just me talking, but statistics also say that. But the point is that despite being strong, Lohen does not seem to be an absurd hyper carry on the level of Mavuika, especially because, as I showed you before, a huge part of Lohen's team's damage comes from Durin. In other words, he depends a lot on someone's dealing off-field damage, whether it's Durin triggering melt and destroying everything around, or Scoffier helping him in freezing compositions. So does that mean that Lohen's future is uncertain? Actually no, it's not. Quite the opposite. Lohen's future still looks very strong. The simple fact that he's a cryo and does not have a major restrictions also helps him a lot, because that means he can fit into the 3 future Stellar Conduct teams. And even if he's weaker than characters like Mavuika and Sandrone, for example, he still has a place in the meta. And the problem is not that Lohen is bad, the problem is that he was released too close to Sandrone, and that completely changes his value for players who are saving prime gems. Now talking about Mavuika here, that is a character that I start liking more and more over time. Even though I was always critical of her gameplay, if you know my main channel, because honestly it feels like a little boring to me, very repetitive, but I have to admit, her explosive power won me over. Even in teams that are not premium for her, I was surprised. Because yes, I lost the 50-50 on Citlali and Shilonen, so I simply gave up on her premium team. But even so, Mavuika remains one of the most insane DPS characters in the meta. The question is, does she still have a chance to last in the future of the game? After all, she has already been in Genshin for a little while. But the answer is yes. Mavuika is still an extremely solid character in practically every way. Even at C0 and especially paired with Citlali, she remains explosive with an absurd damage, while also being able to work very well in sub DPS in some scenarios. But today, her focus is very tied to the hardest endgame modes in the game, such as the Abyssal Conflict. But there's one big catch. If you don't have Mavuika and you also don't have her premium team, I would honestly advise you to be very careful before spending your primal gems on her right now. Because if your doubt is between starting to invest in Mavuika from zero or saving for Sandrone, I truly think that Sandrone has much more future potential, mainly because of the new stellar conduct mechanic and everything that should come along with the new region. In other words, Mavuika is still extremely strong, but she belongs to a meta cycle that started a while ago, while Sandrone, on the other hand, may be opening the new next cycle. Now, if you already have Mavuika, then the conversation changes completely. In that case, it could be very interesting to go after her constellations or her weapon, because that could greatly increase the character's lifespan in your account. With more investment, she tends to keep clearing endgame much more easily, and possibly future content that's coming to the game as well. So to summarize everything, if you already have Mavuika, an investment in her can be worth it. But if you still don't have her and you still need it to get her and the team for her, I would say the smart choice is to skip her completely. And the smarter path is to save for Sandrone. And talking about Sandrone, she's weak. Yes, she's very weak. You're surprised? You should be, because she's weak now, but in the future, she will be insane. Let me explain you why. Because looking at the recent leaks, Sandrone seems to be around 120k DPS currently, falling behind characters like Mavuika and Lohen. But her biggest difference is not exactly the current state, but what is being prepared for the future. Her artifacts are expected to receive important changes in Snezhnaya, which could already represent around 10k more damage. On top of that, leaks also indicate that she will have a dedicated support, and when you add that to the possible buff tied to Stellar Conduct, her potential looks terrifying, and there's something in my eye. Oh my god, it hurts. And we are talking about a character who today may look just okay, but in the future could jump to something close to 200k DPS with the right team. And that, my friends, is no small thing. Which makes you think, which character should you choose? Well, in my opinion, you should always choose what you like the most and gives you the most fun. Genshin is not only endgame or having the highest damage or so on. If you love Mavuika and if you like Lohen, if you want to play with them because you enjoy the gameplay, go for it. But looking coldly from the meta side, I would say that Sandrone is by far the choice here. Because if we put everything on the table, the artifacts she should receive in Snezhnaya, the perfect support coming in version 7.0, the stellar conduct mechanic, and the fact that she's tied to the next cycle of content, she does not seem to be just the strongest character among these options. She seems to be the character with the longest lifespan in meta between them. And that is the most important point. Mavuika is strong now. Lohen still has value, but Sandrone may be arriving exactly at the beginning of a new meta. And when a character comes together with the new mechanic, new supports, new artifacts, normally they don't arrive just to compete. They arrive to pull the game towards their side. So that's why Sandrone can change everything.